Welcome to this Zentangle Quickie. My name is Heather Hartwick Gladden. I'm a Certified Zentangle Teacher. And today we're going to take a look at the Tangle Braze from Zentangle. Now, I was called to attention to this tangle. I've seen it. I probably have done it. It's an oldie but a goodie, a classic Zentangle original tangle. And for more inspiration, link in the description section. I will link to Tangle Patterns because that was the tangle of the day from them, because it happens to be part of the project pack, the current project pack from Zentangle. And if you've never taken a look at those, you can go to Well, actually, there's a link on Tangle Patterns, so you can go ahead and follow that. That's probably just easiest. But this is, I think, now I'm trying to remember what number project pack it was, but they've done a number of them. You don't have to buy the pack because you might have all of the tools. In fact, a lot of times, when I listen to the intro video, they'll show you everything in there, and then you can order it afterwards if they still have it available. So anyway, just some tidbits for you and your tangling, because they have a lot of really great ideas. But I thought, well, what a great opportunity. Let's take a look at this tangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm putting my 4 corner dots in and my famous squiggly border. Because this is a tangle that would fill in any section. Instead of like a grid pattern that, yes, that could fill in any section, but it can kind of stand on its own too. So this will fit into any section. And it starts off with, it starts off with a line down the center according to my instructions. But when I was watching the video, and I'm just going to divide this in half. When I was watching the video that is linked on Tangle Patterns, they didn't start with a line down the center or a line that would become the center. So do take a look at that. And it just proves there's more than one way to do a tangle. You get the concept, and then we can have fun with it. So I'm going to follow my Zenthology, my instructions, because it's a little bit different. And that way, when you watch the video, then it's like, oh, great, we get to have 2 ways to do this. All right, so we're going to draw here, and here's how I attack it. Is I'm going to just, I could use my thicker pen, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do it with the thinner pen for right now. And see, these lines were more angled, so it's kind of like a curved line up to the center and then a curved line down. A lot of times I start in the middle. That's what I had been doing. Today, apparently, my pen decided that we're going to start from here. So this is a big section that we're going to then fill in. Then I'm going to leave a big gap. And same things. And of course, this doesn't have to be perfect at all. Up to you how wide you want these bands to go. And how angled. It could be a complete angle versus a curved line. Again, completely up to you. And I believe in the video, and I want to say it was Molly doing the demonstration, I think she kind of did it where filling in a section and then putting the next step that we'll do right afterwards. Which just goes to show that it doesn't matter. And since I did that, I've switched to the graphic one just because it's a little quicker on the fill in. Ooh, seems like this one might be running out of steam. We'll see. And I'll neaten that little bit up there in a minute. Like I said, it's all how best you work. As far as this goes, like I said, because this didn't really have any fine lines. A lot of times I will outline with the 01, and then fill in with something bigger, and then just kind of tidy it up at the end, because I want the angles that the fine point will create. Versus this is going to create an angle. Like, so if I did this. It's going to be rounded to the size of the pen nib. That's just my logic behind it, and I just like to share it, just in case. Just in case it's a help. All right. And I only have this one little section, so usually I would pause, but I only have this one little section here to go. Now, this is something fun. This is why I like to do the curvy border. And actually, well, that's pretty good. Actually, this could probably come up a little bit more. Because I like to work behind the border. So when you do, well, first let me recommend, if you have never taken, I call it Zentangle Essentials versus Beginning or 101. That's just my preference for the title because I think, well, actually I have a lot of people that take it as a refresher because every once in a while it's nice to get back to basics. But anyway, I like to work behind these, the border. Oh, and what I was about to say is the pencil line is just a recommendation. You don't have to do that, but I just think it's a fun challenge in my warped sense of what I think is fun anyway. And see, right here, I'm just taking the 01, and I'm just going to make that point a little bit steeper, and it incorporates that little flub. You can also do this where I just re-outline and go just a little bit over, and then it just neatens everything up so nice. All right, next step, and with the 01, although I'm going to say, I'm going to do this with the 01, but this is where you could decide if you wanted to use a little bit thicker pen, you could, of course. So we're just doing an aura around those, around the, these thick sections that we did, and trying to mirror the contour to copy it. And because I did straight line, so I usually hesitate when I'm auraing and my pen is over the part that I'm auraing, but sometimes it just works. And because I have the curve, because that's how I drew it this way, I didn't want to change that. It was more important. All right. And that's essentially it. And see, I love how it just looks like I drew that right underneath this paper, like as if I peeled up a piece of something and, oh, look at that pattern that's underneath it. That's how my brain works with this. Now, what they showed in my stuff here, in my Zenthology, was we're just going to shade this whole section, and I'm just doing a little scribble because I'm going to take the tortillon and smooth it out afterwards. I mean, sure, if you wanted to, there's always a bunch of different ways that you could shade this, but this is kind of nice because it gives a little dimension to the reason that there's this line here, so it looks like it's folded. Could have probably been a little bit lighter, but it's all right. And if you do something like that, where it, let's just do this, where it's a little light. Here's what I'm going to do. Being very careful, I just want to go a little lighter gray on this side, so that way there's a difference. But if there's always a way to course correct, if there's something you don't like, that it's just like, oh, that makes me unhappy. Oh, see, that makes me a little happier. There's always a way, always a way. And what's fun about that, so not only do we get the meditative aspects of Zentangle by even just the filling in, and if I could move a little bit slower, and sometimes I have done that where it's just like I'm just coloring in, not thinking, and it's lovely. And that alone can be a great meditation or mindfulness exercise. Oops, I missed this little place here. Gotta get that little edge in. But the other side effect, if you will, of Zentangle is kind of working on creative problem solving. Because we look at something like, gosh, it's just not sitting right with me. And then you wait, you take a look. Sometimes you gotta let it sit for a while. sleep on it, and come back and just, oh, well, and then something might just strike you, or you just try something and see if it works or not. And it's interesting, just me, myself. Well, it wouldn't be me, somebody else. Me. I said that, I'm like, oh, it's just like when somebody says 6 o'clock a.m. in the morning. Redundant. Anyway, so I have found that in real life that I'll take some chances, or I'll think about something differently, and I'm like, oh yeah, just like in Zentangle. And I'm not thinking that way on purpose. It's just something will strike me, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then you put all these things together, and it's really, really fun when stuff like that happens. So, if you've had a moment like that and you want to share, feel free to put that in the comments, because I think it's really, really interesting. So with that is all there is to this tangle. It is simple, but what's neat is that it's a bold tangle that is nice to add to whatever you're doing. It's nice to have something that has a little bit more drama or contrast, in your tangles. And here, what's neat as well is if you did this in a shape that was, say, like a seed shape, and do take a look at that video, because if, say, you were doing something that was themed, this would be a really nice contrast. I'm picturing like some of the floral type tangles, and they're on the lighter side if I was, measuring the contrast, and adding something like that, like Braze here, might be a really, really neat compliment. So with that, I appreciate your watching. If you like the video, would love to have a thumbs up. Do check out the description section for those step out links and ways to connect with me, because if you enjoyed it enough and you want to maybe come and join me on an online class, I do them weekly. Most are free, some have a fee. And lastly, if you enjoyed the video enough to like it, enough to see more, I would love to have you be a subscriber on the YouTube channel. So with that, thank you so much for watching again, and I wish you happy tangling.